Mm-mm. Let me see. Okay. I think I'm live, y'all. Make sure. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let me minimize this and this. Cool. All right, peace, family. About to get started. Hope everybody's doing. Run through a few things that I think are very useful. And let me just go ahead and get set up real quick. Let me see. No, not like that. Why did I do it that way? This thing is crazy. Okay. Let me see if I can get this one situated. Hopefully everybody's doing good. That. Cancel. Oh, I guess that would be correct. Cool. We'll set that over here. I bet. Oh, why does it keep doing that? I don't know. But let me not do that. Let's see what it's doing. That was weird. Okay. So now that we got that squared away, I can minimize this. And everybody can see my screen. I don't know if y'all can. Yeah. Let me see. Hold the phone. Y'all. We gonna get situated. Let me see. Oh, that's why it's not working. Let's see if that'll do it. So then we can, more importantly, let me see. Yeah, for everybody, my slideshow. So just give me a second to just kind of get this all squared away. Okay. And minimize my screen. Cool. Let me know if this is too big. I can try to position it where it's like at least readable. And I can just actually minimize myself. Cool. Or, yeah, that'll work. Cool. So, as you know, there's a couple of things that I wanted to discuss with everybody, but also just to help kind of give what everybody should be kind of preparing for and things of that nature. And so, let me see if I can pull it up. So, the big thing that I want to make sure that I just change that, investing opportunity, and then, Aboriginal shape. Cool. Yeah, so the big topic is that are you in Aboriginal shape, right? And there's different forms of what I'm talking about. So it's not just the first thing that comes to people's mind when it comes to being in shape, right? But before I go into all that stuff, and there's also going to be some investment opportunities I think that everybody should take a look at least. But we got to do the preamble first, right? So we're in real quick. So we, the people of the Aboriginal Republic of North America, asserting our natural Aboriginal rights as the oldest recorded Aboriginal Indigenous peoples of the Americas, consisting of an Aboriginal union of Indigenous peoples living in accordance with natural law, the law of our ancestors, do hereby recognize all nationals of the Aboriginal Republic of North America as a unified community, establish our divine right to self-rule, a common defense of our nation, a complete unified will for progress and prosperity by and for our people, establishing justice by way of natural law and equality, and complete autonomy as a nation. Cool. So, as you know, all nationals need to know the preamble, right? So there's no ifs, ands, and buts. You can find that in your protocol manual. You can find it in the Constitution. You can find it in the rites of passage. So know it, as well as your 12 general orders. You'll find out that they'll give you guidance and direction, right? So, and then just making sure that you pay your dues. Won't spend too much time on why you need to pay your dues and why you want to make sure you want to stay up to date with dues, whether you're IPA or a national of ARNA, right? So, the investment opportunity I want to talk about. I know some of y'all are like, man, you still on crypto? Yes, I am. And I think you guys should take a look at it as well. As far as like the blockchain technology, I don't think that it's going anywhere. So, especially with all the legislation that's being passed and things of that nature. So, the one that I want to just kind of bring to everybody's attention is Block V. Block V deals with like the whole manifestation of NFTs, right? And just like the whole patent of that technology, right? And being able to funnel through one place, right? Almost like a centralized place. So this is going to be very pivotal for just like moving forward when it comes to NFTs, blockchain, and things of that nature. And so definitely do some due diligence as far as like looking at this, but I already have this. I'm just kind of just making people aware of it if you haven't already looked at it. And when you do get it, make sure you get it off of these exchanges, right? Point blank, period. Get it off these exchanges. Then the other one, I know I probably talked about this one before, but it's Aurora Technologies. Basically, it's dealing with the AI technology that's basically going to be operating a lot of these, vehicles that are run off of AI. Basically, you're not even going to have to operate them, manually. So they're autonomous vehicles. And FedEx has already partnered with this company. So has Amazon. So has Hyundai. I forget who the other one is, but there's a few others, and it's just like they're already running, blowing and going. So the software is already embedded into some of these trucks, vehicles, and things of that nature. So that's why I keep harping on, like, I think it's worth looking into if you haven't already. And then More importantly, just investing in yourself and different skills. But we'll talk about that in a little bit later. Make sure. So the question that I think everyone needs to ask themselves is, why did you nationalize? What is your purpose of joining ARNA or the IPA, right? This question gets asked each time you fill out an intake. And I don't know if some of you remember what you put down. Oh, what was that? Things be just going off. That's a sign. But why did you nationalize? It's very important that you start with your why, and you know why you're doing what you're doing, because there's going to be a lot of things that may, come your way, that may discourage you, that may make things hard for you, that may, just confuse things. But if you have your why, and you know your why and why your purpose of joining ARNA, like, I'm telling you, it's going to keep things just kind of crystal clear with knowing your cosmology and things of that nature, right? So I want you to just kind of rethink, what was your reason for joining? What was your reason for nationalizing, right? That's very important. Hopefully you didn't put down a reason like, I just want to get my tax exemption, that's it. And if you did, that's okay, but you really want to find a meaningful why to you, right? That's really the whole point. So let's talk about this Aboriginal shape. So you got mentally shape, you got physically shape, you got spiritually, cosmology shape, and you also got financially, right? So this stuff makes what I would call, being in Aboriginal shape. When you have all these things, all these different cylinders clicking, like not one's lacking, not one, 2 or 3 are, working, but, the other one's not. You want to have all of them working, in unison, like a sine wave, right? Like it just goes like, so that is really the importance of why I'm even talking about, are you in Aboriginal shape, right? And we'll go through the specific things specifically. So now that we have some context of what Aboriginal shape is, you know exactly what I'm about to go into. So let's talk about the mentally first, because that's like the most important, because everything is mental, right? Everything's mental, whether you can get deterred, whether you can get distracted, whether you can be lazy, all these things. These things are going to what are going to make you in Aboriginal shape mentally, right? Are you continually educating yourself? Are you learning new skills? Are you reading the materials you already have before you and not guessing or just being confused? Are you asking questions? Are you getting clarity? How are you managing your stress? What is your mental strength, willpower, all these things? Because if you don't have answers to these questions, and if you're not doing some of these things, you're gonna find yourself in bad shape mentally. Do y'all even recognize this website right here? I'm just curious. I don't even know if some of y'all even recognize this, right? Some of y'all have not even gone to this website in a long time. And it shows whenever I ask certain questions like, do you know where XYZ is? And they're like, oh, no. Or where do I pay dues? And it's like, if you're going to this website, and this is, the domain is still the same, right? Whether it's governmentreparations.org or arnagovernment.org, they still point you to the same page that we're looking at, right? And I put this as a joke because, like, some of y'all have not seen this website since 2016, and that's a shame, to be honest, because there's a lot of stuff on there that will give you clarity, right? That I promise you, if you just take a look at it, read the material, do the things that are in it, you'll find out exactly what you need to be doing. So get comfortable, get familiar with the website. If you're not sure, get with your jurist, and they'll be able to walk you through it, all this other stuff, man. So just keep that in mind. So let me see. Now, this is some other material that should be keeping you busy. The ARNA Constitution, the Protocol Manual. Do y'all even know where to find it? I say that jokingly, but it's like, do you really know where to find it? Do you know how to get to download these files. I'd be surprised, right? Because the way some of y'all be acting, asking questions, you act like you don't know what to do. And we just need you to know what to do. Not to get confused, not to get panicky, but really know what to do. And you can find this on honorgovernment.org, right? So just keep that in mind. Read the stuff seriously. And then the other thing that I want to talk about, the reason why I'm even flashing this is because some of y'all are getting anxious about the DMV, or just the tribal driver's license. When it's like, are you even comfortable using your tax exempt tribal ID or your member ID? Some of y'all are not even using it to its potential, right? For example, you can take your tribal member ID and you can go to any national, museum or indigenous museum or whatever national park or whatever the case is, and you can get in for free, right? Don't believe me? Just try it, right? Don't even believe what I'm saying. Just go do it. And that's just utilizing some of the things that you have at your disposal, just as a small scale of getting comfortable with what you have already. Another thing is just using your tax exemption. Some of you still have not used your tax exemption, even though you've waited for so long and you got it. So an example of how to use it, I know I shown this before, but let me see, where is it? And hopefully YouTube doesn't take this down. So you take this ID, right? Tax exempt, and so you go to, let's say, Walmart, right? And you're like, okay, how do I purchase stuff from Walmart? We'll get to that point. We'll get to it in a second, but I just wanted to just kind of give you a quick example. You go to the customer service department, which is kind of somewhere in the back. They'll give you an application. And they'll say, okay, fill it out. You'll fill it out in accordance with your nationality information on your ID. And then they'll give you a card. They'll give you a card that, let me see if I have it here with me. Yeah, I do. Yeah. So they give you a card like this, right? Yeah, they're like, dang, man, Kojo, you've been wearing yours out. Yeah, I have. So the whole point is that it's not that hard, and you need to be tapping into that stuff. Because if you're not, I promise you're going to have some trouble. You're going to have difficulty, right? And so that's the whole point of me even bringing this stuff up, because I keep hearing it. So keep those things in mind. This is what's going to help you financially, mentally, because all this stuff it can be mentally scary, right? For some people who have never done this before. And we sometimes are just scary people. And so we just have to get over the fear of, what if they say it's fraud? And it's like, no, it's not fraud. Okay. So get comfortable using your utensils before you even start thinking about this. Okay. Now, to go with being in Aboriginal shape, we've talked about a lot of this stuff before, but making sure you're doing a lot of these things, right? Emergency food, preparing yourself mentally. Okay, I need to start thinking about getting food. I need to start putting food away. I need to start getting into the mode of eating one time a day. I need to start getting into the habit of putting extra financial reserves away. This is the type of stuff you want to prepare yourself mentally. And we'll go a little bit deeper than this. And then just going along with the skills, going to Aboriginal University, as well as just these different skills that are useful, like cloud computing, encryption and cybersecurity. That's huge. Text and imaging, voice processing, that is major. E-commerce. Everybody should have a website. I know we talked about this several times, but everybody needs to have a website. If you don't have a website, I don't know what you're doing in 2022 and beyond. And it's pretty easy. There's many different platforms that will help you get set up, and you can start selling immediately. And that's the whole point, is that you want to be able to do these things to bring another source of revenue. You at least want to have 3, right? if you're in ARNA, you already know what I'm talking about. You need at least 3, right? Just in case something does happen, and then boom, you're like, oh shoot. Well, you still got 2 sources of revenue coming through, right? That's the whole point. So look at some of these skills. These are not all the skills, but look at skills in the medical field, law, cosmology, genealogy, economics, robotics, quantum computing, all this stuff, AI. This stuff ain't going nowhere. And this is what people need. This is what we need. So, and then I'm not even gonna say. You know what I'm talking about when I say the pass. So be sure, whether you're a national or not, you want to be a national, I guarantee you, because that's what's going to afford you the protections. But you want to have this in place. There will be a high chance that things will get shut down, food will be scarce, and you don't want to be subject to having to do this to yourself and taking the jab, okay? It's very important. If you don't understand the whole point of the contraindication or religious exemption, get with a jurist, get with somebody who knows what they're talking about, and they should be able to break it down to you. But the reason why you want to have this is because traveling will be restricted very, very soon. Okay? So I won't spend too much time on that. Let's talk about being Aboriginal shaped financially. I know y'all probably have seen this, the Executive Order 14067. I'll spare y'all the details. Basically, it just boils down to control, seizure of bank accounts, digital currencies, and punishments made to select contributions that are made, whether it be in Russia, China, whoever, whether it be on YouTube to certain, influencers, you will get punished for doing that, right? And they actually are going to seize your bank account. Now, they won't do that to ours because it can't be seized, it can't be, garnished, it can't be none of that stuff. But some of y'all have not even opened up your free business bank account that you get from ARNA or the IPA, which is kind of concerning because it's like, why? Why haven't you opened it? What is, and I know what it is. You're still blocked mentally. You're still in this mindset of, oh, I'm scared. What if they say this, or I'm doing something wrong? Then, I get frustrated. Then I'm like, why? Why is it not working? ARNA don't work. And it's like, listen, y'all, they are cracking down that much harder. So that's why there's videos that were made to prep you mentally on doing some of these processes, because they want to discourage you. They want to block you and keep you in this space and keep you enslaved. But if according to our, Declaration of Interdependence, we are not going to allow ourselves to be suffering from genocide economically, politically, socially, all that stuff. So the reason why the executive order is important to pay attention to is because if you're still utilizing a regular bank account, right, when it's not under indigenous, jurisdiction or protection, you're exposing yourself to have some serious problems. And I guarantee you will. So keep this in mind. If you want to go read the executive order, definitely feel free to go, take a chance and look at it, because it's not going anywhere. And this was done in March while all the chaos and, distractions and all this other stuff was happening. Like, it's like, whoo, boy, that is crazy. So anyway, and then I'll minimize this for a second, but you can see why I even blew that up. So you see what Joe Biden's saying, right? He's saying, I'm keeping up with keeping with my campaign promise. I'm gonna reduce student loan debt or payments till 2023. And it's like, what? And people are literally jumping for joy, talking about Hercules. And it's like, no. No. Because just what they're talking about is only like even if you don't meet the financial bracket, they're talking about like 20,000 off your student loan. And if you don't really meet it quite all the way, due to their frame of how they want to do it, 10,000. And it's like some of y'all are swimming in $100,000 or more. Sometimes it's just 50. And what is 10 or 20 going to do, right? You're right. Chris 160. Yeah, you're right. Keeps promising for no reason. Crazy. Like, why? So anyway, let me see. Let me move on to the next thing, y'all. Yeah, I'm telling you, just this mug gets nasty. So instead of just relying on Joe Biden, come talk to a jurist. Go talk to somebody within ARNA, right? Maybe getting that that debt discharged or removed or solved, right? And maybe even possibly a lawsuit if it meets certain requirements. It has to meet certain requirements, otherwise it doesn't make sense. But the whole goal is to remove the debt so that you can start fresh. That's the point. Some of you have been sitting on debt and don't know how to get rid of it. Some of y'all don't even want to ask the question. Maybe you're too embarrassed. Like, I don't want to tell nobody I have debt. Well, I can only tell you it's going to crush you because you got interest rates that are going up, right? They are printing or injecting more money into the economy, right? And sending it overseas to somebody else who is like, what is going on? Why are they playing this game? So keep this in mind, okay? So I think this is important. And don't forget, you got 80,000 IRS workers that have been hired. We talked about this last time, but they're coming. And they're going to come seize your bank account, and they're going to come through every asset that has something that they can pull that you didn't even, maybe you didn't report. So that's why it's more important. It's so important to get your basics done now, while you have the time, and not while you're rushed. So, banking procedures. Some of y'all don't know where this is, and it's kind of concerning. Whew, some of y'all don't know. What you want to do is go to page 24, okay, of your protocol manual, just in case you don't know, maybe you didn't watch the video that was made, and just really take a good look at it, okay? It's not that hard. It really just requires mental strength and just understanding what is in front of you. What documents do you have? And using them with confidence. So keep that in mind. Let's keep it pushing, y'all. And then let's talk about just some of the store procedures with tax exemption. I know I went over the easiest one, which is Walmart. Let's talk about Staples. Staples is also easy too, if you go to Staples to get certain things. You go to the store, there's a pamphlet with a card inside, you fill out your information based off of the ID, and then they'll give you a little paper card, and then you'll be in the system, and that's it. It's not that hard. Wegmans, for those who are in, upstate, maybe on the East Coast, it's the same thing. You just give them your honor credentials, your tax exempt, right? And then they may go and ask, a person in the back, like a manager, and they may ask you to fill out something, or they're just like, okay, they put in the number and boom, you're done. Same thing with Dollar Tree, Dollar General. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Let's talk about some of the major ones like hotels, right? Hotels is the same process, maybe a little bit different, depending on which hotel you go to and depending on which state you go to and which federal enclave you're in. But the process is still the same. Before you check in, they're like, okay, we need to, check in. They'll see your debit card and stuff like that. Make sure you're like, hey, I need you to remove the taxes for me. And they're like, okay, what do we need to do, or why are you tax exempt? Usually they ask you, why are you tax exempt? And you're like, because I am part of a tribal government and we are tax exempt. And they're like, okay. So what you do is you show them this. They'll look at it. Sometimes they may look at it funny. They're like, I I don't believe you. Some people may like, oh, you're doing that thing. Some people may like, how do you do that? And because some people are just genuinely curious. But basically, you're going to take this. They're going to make a copy, and they may actually have you fill out a form too for sales tax exemption within that state. And sometimes it may be the multi-state, multi-jurisdiction one. And that the multi-jurisdiction one is a little bit more easier, honestly. I know they do it at Hobby Lobby, so you know that I'm not like making this stuff up. And you're done. And then they'll remove the taxes. That's it. Restaurants, it's no different. Don't let these restaurants bully you. Don't let them tell you something that is not true. Oh, we don't do tax exemption here. How, Sway? You're lying now. So it's either they don't want to do it, they don't understand it, or it's too much hassle for them and they don't trust it. They don't want to get in trouble with the IRS. And so their accountant says anything that deals with tax exemption, just ignore it. Just say it's not true. Don't just right? Ignore it. So that's what you have to do. You have to stand firm on your square with this stuff. And sometimes you have to ask a discount. Maybe you're at, let's say finish line. And finish line. And they were like, okay, well, they'll give you, sometimes it's like, well, we don't know how to do it, but we can give you a discount that basically wipes out the taxes. And that's okay too, right? The whole point is that you just want to make sure that you're not paying taxes, right? The only thing that maybe is still a little difficult to do is tax exemption when it comes to flights, because they're talking about you have to be a diplomat, XYZ, and it just kind of complicates certain things. So drought is coming, y'all. They talking about this is the drought meter. Texas is high, right? California is high. Some of the other spots, you know where you at. Ain't no drought because the sun don't be shining like that. But places like Florida are still doing just fine, right? But the drought is coming. So what does that mean? How do you prepare financially? You start getting water. You start putting things in place. If you have a place where you can build a well or get access to a well, know where your water sources are around you. That's important because look at this. This is August 18th, 2022. They're talking about drought. Y'all, they about to do a whole lot of crazy stuff. So prepare yourself. I'm telling y'all, they're pulling the rug. They're pulling shenanigans on purpose. Just know that they have a weather machine and HARPA, and it's perfectly legal. Some of y'all, all it's gonna take is just one bad winter. I don't know if anyone experienced this, but maybe it was just like a quick power outage. Like they're playing with the grid. Some of the bills for some people are going through the roof when it comes to utilities. And they're talking about uncertainty of electricity in the winter. What does that mean? You need to have a backup generator. You need to have some type of backup power source. So that way you're not cold, you're not freezing during the winter, because that happened last year. And a lot of people weren't prepared. So don't let it happen again. That's what I'm saying. Because they about to turn off y'all's utilities. I'm telling y'all. So I won't spend too much time on this. Now let's talk about Aboriginal shape physically. Some of y'all think like some of these pictures right here, maybe I need to like move it down a little bit. I think I do, but let me see if I can scroll down a little bit or zoom out a little bit just so y'all can see what I'm talking about. Yeah. Let me see. Whoops. Moved a little bit too fast. Okay. So yeah, some of y'all think that this is okay. And it's not okay. Trust me. You need to be on the appropriate diet. Some of y'all think that this is okay, right? Some of y'all think that this is okay. Some of y'all think that this is okay too, right? like when you're not smelling clean. Some of y'all need to make sure that you're taking your baths, you're bathing properly, you're making sure that you're doing the appropriate things for your body. And are you exercising? Are you fasting during the times of rites of passage? Some of y'all, have y'all even completed the rites of passage? There's an exam. Some of y'all still ain't done it who are nationals. And it's like, why? Why haven't you done it? Because mentally you're not there. You're not in Aboriginal shape mentally. Because otherwise you would have had it done. Right? And getting ready for the fast. The fast is ready to come up. So prepare yourself mentally, financially, physically, spiritually, because it's gonna take some strength on all cylinders, right, to do that stuff. Do you know what's your appropriate weight for your height? That's important. And are you practicing deep breathing? And are you stretching? Like, you can't be stiff, trying to do things, and you may end up hurting yourself. So that's why it's like, whoo, y'all, listen, I'm telling y'all, get yourself together. Some of y'all are eating things that are causing, bad odors, right? It's not good. That means you need a detox. You need to get all that stuff out, all the toxins out, sweat it out, so that way you can start smelling fresh. So hopefully that makes sense, right? It's not even that deep, but it really is at the same time. We have to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves physically. So how do you do that? Maybe you need to get a follow-up bioscan. Maybe you need to get a bioscan. Maybe you need to get some consulting on your health to just be honest where you're at. Like, if you're hurting in certain places, get some help from one of our doctors, right? All that stuff, it matters, seriously. And you'll notice that if you're under tremendous amount of stress, that's going back to the mental, is going to affect you physically, therefore not making you at Aboriginal shape physically, and then causing you to lose your hair because you're again, mentally you're suffering a tremendous amount of stress. And then sometimes you can either be overweight, or sometimes you can be tremendously skinny because you're not able to absorb the nutrition, or you're just eating bad stuff. All this stuff can be proven scientifically, and we could see it in the scan. Some of y'all think y'all can hide it, but as soon as we do a scan, we'll know it immediately what's happening. So keep that stuff in mind. And you need to know this up front, because this is what's going to make you in Aboriginal shape. Okay. And then lastly, let's talk about spiritually, cosmology wise, right? Some of y'all still don't know how to find your birth card. I'm not here to teach cosmology. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm just here to show you this is what you need to do in order to find it. Okay? And you can use the cosmic plate to find it, and then you know exactly what the corresponding things are. But the whole point is that you don't want to be walking blindly, not knowing who you need to be, who you should be, or what your children need to be, your wife needs to be, your wives, things of that nature. Like, that stuff matters so importantly, so that you don't waste time. And then also you can know what's happening with other people. Like, you're like, oh, somebody operating in dysfunction right now. So that's important. So are you really taking care of yourself? Like, really, on a spiritual cosmology sense? Are you staying within your function, or are you playing in your dysfunction? Some people like playing in dysfunction for whatever reason. Maybe it just feels good. But either way, you'll feel the results in your life, right? So the idea is that once you know what your strengths are, once you know this is the energy you carry, whether how the world sees you, how the world perceives you, and what you need to master, you'll understand how you need to move accordingly. And there'll be people who will be put in your life for a specific lesson so that you need to master, right? So take the time to know your birth card. If you're on already, you already know it's in the rites of passage video. So it shows you how to find your birth, your planetary ruler, and your planetary number. You need to know those three minimally. And then, once you're ready, get into the cosmology course, right? If you find it very interesting and you want to know a little bit more deeper, get into the cosmology course. get qualified, as a, cosmologist. You have a few folks already doing that, right? From Yogi to, Powhatan, a few other people, right? And so you just want to be able to just really know who you are. And that's the whole point, right? So this is how everything ties in together, right? And I know people are like, well, that wasn't like groundbreaking, but it's like, no, seriously, like if you have all these things right here, mentally, physically, financially, spiritually, cosmology wise, like that's your Aboriginal shape, period. Um, and if you don't know, now you know. So I won't spend too much time on that, but like seriously, like go over some of these things. Like you need to know how to open up a bank account with an ARNA and do it properly. Um, I'll work on just making sure that this is done correctly, but let me make sure. I'm gonna. If there's any questions that y'all had that maybe I can answer for y'all that you might find useful, just let me know before we tip on out of here. But some of the stuff you really need to know, like open up a bank account, utilizing your tax exemption properly, not being afraid to use your tax exemption is another thing. Getting rid of your debt. This stuff is very, very, very important. So, yes, I know you are ready, sis. I know. We're going to get you ready too. We're going to get you there. So, yeah, I'm telling y'all, like, if you have no idea what's happening right now in the world, you need to be preparing. If you're not preparing, you're about to get hit with tsunami of a multitude of things, from life, from finances, from mental things, from people, places, circumstances. Like, and you just need to be ready in an Aboriginal shape. So, what can you do today? Start one by one with one. Maybe an area that you're lacking in, they maybe need some work in. Like some of y'all, and it's like, why? And then maybe some of y'all are like struggling like financially, like and it's causing stress. So you're breaking down a little bit mentally, right? And sometimes you're around, a lady that's not, and they're abusing you, and it's like, why are you doing this? Like I've talked to some of y'all, and this is what y'all are telling me, and it's just like, don't put yourself in that situation. Or some of y'all just not going after what you want, and that's a mental thing too, right? And you know what you want mentally. So keep get in contact with me, get in contact with other people together, and that we can help it. Um, hold on. Peace. What are some examples of how to pull that up? Oops. Let me see. Yeah. So when it comes to like just like if I'm understanding, thing is being weird right now. I can go here. I just want to make sure that I have. Studio. and finding out what your actual operations and what is the actual right. As an example. What structure do I pick? Do I pick egg an LLC? Well, it just depends on a tribal LLC, or you can run it as an unincorporated association. That way, what you can do is you can have a holding company at the top that's going to hold maybe some of your particular assets, right? So that way you don't have to actually, maybe open up a bank account with it if you don't need to. So let's say you have multiple brands underneath that holding company. So you're running a movie studio production. You're running a comic company, or you're running a photography, and also you're running a video editing thing. You can have those things under different entities if you want to, and if you do it that way, it'll be that much more simpler, and keeps things kind of like organized and kind of protected. So if somebody comes after one particular thing that maybe you did, it doesn't take out the whole company, right? Because you designated it and structured it that way. But you don't have to do it that way, right? I give you an example where it's just like a little bit easier to like grasp, and that's like Disney. Disney has multiple brands underneath it, and multiple subsidiaries. From ESPN, you got Marvel, you have ABC, you have all these different entities that it's underneath it, right? And then within those same things, you have Pixar, you have maybe Shark Tank. Like, these are different companies, and they're set up that way to protect if anything does happen or goes wrong, right? So it's really a matter of how you want to structure it and how you want to set it up. And let me know if that answers your question. And I don't know if I could see it real clearly. My thing is being glitchy right now. Boop, 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 boop. Let me see if I can. Da, 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 da. Oh, Lord. Hold on. Make sure. Yeah. It's being glitchy on there right now. Da, 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 da. Yeah. God. I'm seeing the freezer. You're breaking up a little bit. Okay. I don't know if you heard any of that, because maybe it was like getting weird on me. But I'll explain like, oh, I'm overloaded. Loaded. That is crazy. I don't know if it's being weird like that. Close that out. Okay, cool. Let me see if that stops that. Okay. Whew. Yeah, so just basically what you need to do, short story, is it depends on. Oh, hold on. I see you put in something. Partly also websites. There we go. I can see it. Partly also because of also setting up websites with any simple resources. Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, so like you can websites that you want to use, right? That you can utilize to help you can be like Shopify, right? Yeah, so Shopify is a good platform. You can use GoDaddy, you can use Wix. The idea is like the simplicity. Like they have different templates. GoDaddy, like they already have templates that you can pull from that you don't have to mess with anything. And usually, the simpler the better. So like I'll use an example like Shopify. You have you have a product. Let's say you have a product, but you also have a service too. So what you can do is they have built-in forms already, so that people can fill out, the intakes that you need to have. The items in the store, you can just upload them, and however you want to do the inventory, um, and then you can customize the theme. And I think it's pretty reasonable as far as like the cost wise. It's like $37 a month, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe like less. But there's different places that it'll be a little bit cheaper. Like Wix, I think is a little bit cheaper than that. Maybe even what's another one? GoDaddy too. But it just depends on exactly what it is that you're trying to do. So I have those things. So I've used Wix before. I've used GoDaddy. I built my own. I've used Shopify. I mean, it really just depends. Like building your own is great, but then it comes with maintenance, because maybe there's a plugin that needs to be updated and it's a little difficult to use, because maybe it's outdated or something like that, and it affects the custom theme for the website. So you have to address that, and then there's programming that needs to go involved, and then you got to have a storage for the website, and sometimes the storage gets full. So that's why it's like, and I think I mentioned this before too, that you can just use these plug and play websites that are there for you. Um, so that's why I want to make sure that everybody has an e-commerce website, because it's really not that hard to do it, and I've talked about it before. So um, so yeah, hopefully that was helpful to anyone that is thinking about a website. And then also we're gonna be doing some things that are gonna help get everybody in Aboriginal physical shape. So be on the lookout for that too. Um, I think it's important to get that stuff in check. Also, get yourself mentally, squared away. If there's any traumas that goes out of your brain, right? Address those things. I won't. You can always send a DM, a text. I know how to get in content shape, right? Financially, mentally, if there's any questions, maybe you're so on that note, family, we'll say peace. Yeah.